So I'm 24 hours here, and I have a service coordinator. So I advocate that way. I'm mentally all there, so I can tell them what I need, what I don't need, that sort of thing. I guess I've developed a reputation as being a dick, but I know what I want, and there's no time for riffraff.
So this question about advocacy kind of stumped me this month.
It's so easy to advocate for your children, your spouse, or even your elderly parents. But when it comes to self-advocacy, that's a whole nother animal.
Advocating for myself is complicated.
I really do shy away from advocating for myself outside of social media.
I didn't know how the social media world was going to react, but I just took a risk.
My friend saying to me about creating a blog, it was huge, for me to be able to start sharing and be authentic, and actually, instead of hounding and pestering anyone that was close to me with my issues and my burdens, I could actually just put it out there, and someone who needed to see it or wanted to read it could if they wanted to.
Advocacy can be hard work, right? Like sharing and being vulnerable.
I just have to be really honest and vocal about, the things I need.
I shy away from it a lot.
It's really vulnerable to go to someone and say, hey, here's an area in my life that makes me feel different.
It's really hard when you're explaining your feelings to your friends about your face, and they just say, I can't see anything, you look fine to me.
I guess I don't advocate as much as I could or need to.
The only time that I ever shy away from spreading advocacy is when I feel as though a person is not willing to open their mind and actually learn about what I have.
It's such a vulnerable thing.
Some of the closest people in my life don't really know what I'm going through. They don't want to be seen as a victim. I have this fear of victim mentality.
I feared of being labeled a complainer, a sissy, a hypochondriac.
Self-reliance has been synonymous with virtue in my upbringing.
I think I live with these conditions pretty quietly.
There are probably some ways that things I don't do and advocate for myself as much, in that I feel awkward with the situation. I move weird, I feel like I look weird, my left arm is sort of rigid and frozen. So I don't necessarily like to call attention to myself because I feel a little uncomfortable with the way my body moves and looks.
In my experience of living with this disease for over 30 years now, the best way to communicate how you're feeling is to communicate how you're feeling.
I don't want to talk about fighting cancer, and I don't want to talk about algorithms for how much longer I have to live.
Advocacy to me just means sharing my story.
I want my symptoms, my psychological responses to be as valid as my blood results.
I kind of had ideas about what was going on in my body, and my doctor just kind of wasn't listening. So I had to speak up for myself and switch doctors and find somebody that actually was on my side and listen to what I had to say.
I'm on the search for a provider that's going to want to dig.
I still need help. I need a lot of help. And that's always been really tough for me to admit because I never needed help before.
Asking for help is scary.
Just because I can carry it so well doesn't mean that it's not heavy, because it's really, really heavy dealing with this.
It's a lot of work. In some cases you have to push. You have to try and be the best person you can to advocate for yourself.
I can only do so much. There's so many big fish in the sea, and I'm just a little fish, but I am definitely trying my best.
I don't want to feel like a burden. I don't want to feel like I need to rely on anyone.
You definitely need someone else. You can't advocate alone. You need someone else.
I think for me, that's probably the time when I find it the hardest to advocate for myself, when I actually need it.
A lot of the advocacy I have to do internally is just reminding myself over and over again that this isn't my fault.
It is an up and down battle, that there are going to be these good days, that there are going to be these bad days.
Not necessarily fight the Parkinson's, but to sort of take control of my life and advocate for myself, is to live my life as best the way I would if I didn't have Parkinson's, so as best I can.
Every superhero has a superpower. And I'm a superhero, and my superpower is my Tourette's. I feel as though it has made me a more caring, compassionate, and loving young man.
You have to become an expert in your own condition because you are the expert of yourself and how this condition affects you personally.
I've realized that I'm the only one that can advocate for my own being.
I'm learning that advocacy doesn't mean they have to accept me, and it doesn't mean they have to be kind. It's actually more about me pushing for myself.
The best way that I think we can reach our collective goals of advocacy are to help each other out and amplify each other's voices.
I want to be part of this. I want to be seen. I want to be heard. I want to respond to what I see and hear. And so I think advocacy for me is being part of this program, part of this extraordinary project.